how to stay employed. And everything on this video that I'm going to talk about could also benefit any entrepreneur. The other day I tweeted this. I said, new theory. If you have a job where you feel irreplaceable, tech will likely replace you. If you have a job where you feel replaceable, you will leverage tech to stay ahead and find more security. And I really started to dive into this because one of the things I'm starting to realize is that the formal education system may not bring the value that it used to. And what I'm saying, many people have said before me, many people will say after me. But the thing I really want to focus in on is the idea of adaptability. I think if you have the ability to be adaptable, especially with new tech, you are going to be able to make sure that you can stay employed. Or if you're an entrepreneur, make sure you continue to add value. So I started to think about this in my own life. And I went on ChatGPT and I asked the following question. I said, hey, name 10 tech hardware devices that weren't around in 2009. I was very interested about the tech that wasn't around. And it gave me the list, which you can see on the screen. And one of the things that's not on the list is the iPhone. Now, the iPhone came out in the fall of 2007, kind of got big in 08, 09, but really blew up in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, as there were more apps. So from there, I started to ask myself the question, having the hardware is good, but let's think about having the social networks or really filling up the app store. So then I went ahead and I asked the question, can you please list 10 social media companies that weren't around or founded in 2009? Now, I'm using 2009 because that was the year that I personally graduated from university, but you can use whatever year and just kind of think back 10 years where you were. For me, it's like, how could I have possibly studied for all of these things that really didn't exist? When I graduated college or graduated university, people weren't talking about the iPhone. No one was talking about any of the social media that you see on the screen. No one was talking about Instagram, Snapchat, Pinterest, TikTok, Vine, WhatsApp, WeChat, Vero, or House Party. And if you look at the monthly active users and you were to, put them all together, just between WeChat, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, and WhatsApp, you probably have more than half the people on the planet. We're talking billions and billions of monthly active users. So if I graduated college in 2009, I wouldn't have known about all of these hardware pieces or tech hardware that now are pretty prominent in our life, including the smartphone. And I also wouldn't have had access to or couldn't have possibly prepared educationally for these new social networks. And that made me really start to think about the following. What are the billion-dollar sectors that also weren't around in 2009? What were the other things that I also could not have studied for or foreseen as a college student? So I said, name 5 billionaire-dollar sectors that were not around in 2009. And this is what it said. Electric vehicle, the electric vehicle industry, EVs, cryptocurrency and blockchain, which is the sector where I professionally work and where I personally create content about because I think it's fascinating. Streaming services. Back in 2009, Netflix was still sending DVDs to your house. Just think about that. Is space exploration and commercial space flight, number 4. Now, I think about this more as commercial space flight. We obviously had space exploration, but with billionaires basically now having enough money that they can go play with rockets, that obviously wasn't around 2009. And renewable energy. So these were 5 sectors that I couldn't have even studied for in university. Okay, so let's go with that. And then I wanted to ask ChatGPT one more thing that I really found interesting because as we look ahead, I think it's going to be very, very interesting to think about the future jobs. But actually, before we get there, I went ahead and I asked ChatGPT, I said, hey, what are 5 jobs that are prominent now that essentially weren't around in 2009? Like I couldn't have studied them in university. And they said data scientist, AI machine learning engineer. I have many friends that are both of those now. Cybersecurity analyst, also have friends that are doing that. App developer, also have friends that have their own startups and or part of companies that are developing apps. And finally, chief sustainability officer. All 5 of those things were not around in 2009, so I couldn't have studied them in university. And yes, that was 14 years ago. A lot has changed in tech. So as we look ahead, I was very interested and I was like, okay, if those are the 5 most prominent things that weren't around in 2009, what do we think is going to happen in the year 2030? So I went ahead and I asked ChatGPT the following. Please list the 5 top paying jobs that will likely be around in 2030, but certainly don't exist today. This is what it said. Kind of fascinating. It said predicting specific new job titles that will emerge by 2030 can be challenging, but there are some emerging fields and roles that may become high-paying jobs in the future due to technological advancements and societal changes. Here are the 5 potential high-paying jobs that could exist by 2030. Now, each one of these has a little bit more of a description. I'm not going to read them out. I'm just going to read out their title. But you should pause and read their description because they're fascinating. Number 1, AI ethics consultant. Number 2, virtual reality architect. Number 3, quantum computing specialist. Number 4, space tourism guide. One of the craziest when tourism goes to space. Number 5, sustainability strategist. So there are the potentially 5 high-paying jobs that could be around in 2030 that don't exist today. And when I originally sent out that original tweet, I was thinking about myself and I was thinking about all my other colleagues. And I actually created a short on this, which is here, and I'll leave that in the description, which talks about the power of adaptability, where we're living in a world where tech is moving so fast that getting a certification is cool. Going to get extra education is cool. I got my master's, something I question most of the time. Other than the things I learned, which were really valuable, some of the principles and philosophies, those were great. The biggest thing I took away was definitely my network. But outside of that, many of the things that I learned about have now already changed because of technology. And we're now looking at things different due to societal changes and technological advancements, as ChatGPT said. So I wanted to create this video just to say that as you think about your future career as an employee or even as an entrepreneur, as you're creating value, don't so much focus on the knowledge that you're going to need to take you into the future. Focus on being light, agile, and adaptable, and having maybe, the bitability to learn may be more important than what you learn as we move forward. So here was my adapt or die, how to stay employed BitPod. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please subscribe for more. And yeah, I'll see you next Sunday. Thanks.